Someone posted on here like over 10 years ago about being traumatized and needing to talk to someone about witnessing a woman being run over by a car. Reading his account actually traumatized me, and I couldn't stop thinking about it for years. The short version is that this person had exited a storefront, like Forever 21 or something, and saw a woman on her bicycle get snagged by an 18-wheeler, pulled under the wheels, and watched her scream and her age pop like a zit. He didn't realize what he just witnessed, so he stood there, in shock for a second, and then went into shock for a bit. His version was far more descriptive, and I can't imagine recovering from seeing something like that.
I read a story about a guy who was cut open by a chainsaw while working on a lumber crew in the middle of nowhere. His buddies told 911 that they were going to start driving him to the hospital, since the ambulance was an hour away from where they were working, and they'd meet somewhere in the middle. A woman on the highway decided to block them and not let them speed by, causing them to take an extra 15 minutes to get to the ambulance. When they finally did get him there, he died on the way to the hospital, and if they had gotten to the ambulance 5 to 10 minutes sooner, he should have lived. Since then, anytime I see someone speeding insanely fast and driving recklessly, I have stopped trying to be the highway citizen police and just let them go. Maybe it's an emergency, or maybe they're just an asshole, but I'm not going to be the reason someone dies, because I assume the latter.
I was browsing the Relay for Reddit sub. It's a third-party Android app for Reddit. I think I was checking to see if other people were experiencing the same bug in the app that I was having. Anyway, randomly clicked on a post and it turned out to be a video of a guy with his hands tied behind his back on the ground, getting his banana torn off by a Rottweiler. I think it was shot by a Mexican cartel. To this day, it's one of the worst, if not the worst, videos on the internet I've ever seen. I may have been mildly traumatized because I was absolutely not expecting that on an app sub, and it was just so god-awful terrible.
Half the squads are left.
The one where a dad had an evil son, kid was a psychopath since birth, and tore up everything, constantly. Op and his wife had another baby who was, for lack of a better word, normal, and the son ended up harming the baby. I think he cut her with a knife. And the mom beat the shit out of the kid and left him for dead. Op and his wife and baby moved downstairs to their basement, and the son tore up the house, left, and they never heard from him again.
Can't remember what sub it was on, but an EMT told a story about an abandoned car in a parking lot. It was summertime in some ungodly hot state in the US, and there was a body in the car. Apparently, it was a morbidly obese person, and was basically slow-cooked for days if not weeks. The windows were fogged up and it was far enough away from people that they couldn't smell it. The way the EMT described what they saw was fucking horrible. Using barbecue and other culinary terms made me gag. To videos that really fucked my shit up. The first was in what appeared to be a prison setting. A guy was in a cell and was screaming and crying with another. On the outside of said cell, the crying man was forced to put his arm through the bars, and the man on the outside hit the guy's arm with a blunt object until the arm was broke as fuck. He then made the man repeat the act with the other arm. As if that wasn't enough, the guy was made to come out of the cell, and the guy outside grabbed both hands and did battle ropes with the guy's arms for a good 10 seconds or so. Second was a video from Africa, I believe. Apparently these 2 to 3 people were accused of being witches. There was ditch where people had started a fire and what appeared to be the whole village came out to burn the witches. The people tried to get out and were being kicked back in. Literally people coming from off-screen flying in with kicks. People attacking the witches with to by force to get them back in. These people were so burnt up and still scratching and clawing to get out. Then finally you see one of the people mentally succumb to the idea that today he will die and he will burn on to live. He was just sitting on the edge of the fire in light, a seated fetal position, rocking back and forth waiting for the cold hand of unalive to take him. It was completely fucked.
About 2 months ago, there was a man that was going to Reddit to say that no one would believe him about how his wife just went missing, claiming that she'd said she was going to her parents and that she just never actually arrived there. But it was days before everyone started asking where she was, and he was playing dumb, but he kept talking about her in past tense. And if you went about 10 days back in his post history, he had a post that gained no traction, where he was talking about her as if she were unalive, but the whole post was, again, her as past tense, even though he said he was currently laying in bed next to her. It sounded a hell of a lot like he had unalived her, and was laying next to her unalived body in that post. 2 days after that one, he was crying non-stop about the end of their relationship, and his mistake, and it was weird. But I'm 100% sure he unalived her. His last post was saying that he was giving up on trying to convince her parents and the police that he didn't do anything. Okay, but even crazier is that the last post was what? 42 days ago. The post started 75 days ago when they were just getting married, and he wanted to make her first time okay, or whatever. Then 54 days ago she wants a baby so bad, and then 6 days later she was gone. They just got married 75 days ago, and she's missing. The one where the grandma refused to believe the granddaughter had a coconut allergy, slathered her in coconut oil, put her to bed, and she unalived. My ex's mom grandma to my kiddo used to do experiments. Because she didn't believe in my son's peanut allergies, she refused a trip to the hospital I needed her to drive as he was 15 months old and slowly dying. His throat was closing, and I was scared, and only 17 at the time, and she refused to let me take the car. Finally convinced her to call the fire department and just ask, and they said to take him right away, so she reluctantly did. They also threatened her with responsibility. She was rolling her eyes the entire time and calling me dramatic. He's literally dying, doesn't even look recognizable at this point. She refused to go inside the hospital. She was the one who gave him a PB&J. I told her he's too young. I never even addressed it with her after it happened. I just was so happy my baby was alive and survived. I asked she avoid peanuts and was really nice about it. I read the baby books. She laughed and said she knew better. I went to the bathroom and she gave it to him. He survived. After that, she tested his allergies, and my son knew better than to eat anything questionable. No cookies, no baked goods, no peanuts, only eat mac and cheese and prepackaged foods that he's familiar with when with her, but also with anyone. I made sure I was there for the visits, but that woman was sneaky. She didn't test him around me. She was out of our lives permanently by age 5 or 6. Thankfully, it's been 10 years and my son still has a peanut allergy. He's had allergy testing a few times since. People like that are delusional and see the allergy as a personal attack against them for whatever reason. His allergic reaction was extremely painful and traumatic for him and me. Swollen eyes, ears, throat closing, welts covering his skin, and inside his mouth. I imagine the granddaughter went an extremely painful and terrible way.
I think it was a response to an AskReddit about double standards. A guy was watching his infant daughter while his wife was shopping, and a well-dressed woman just walks up, takes the carrier and walks away. He tries to get the carrier back from her and she screams that he's trying to kidnap her baby. A bunch of people started beating him up, and the woman would have gotten away if his wife didn't come out and tackle her. The mystery woman got away and was never seen again.
There was one about a lady who gets up in the middle of the night to let her dog out. She lets him out and then closes the front door, locks it, and goes into the kitchen. A few minutes later, she hears the dog scratching at the door to be let back in. When she gets to the door, she gets a weird feeling and checks her front door security camera and sees a man on all fours scratching at the front door.
I forgot which subreddit that was on, but the title was "Helmets are important, or don't forget to wear helmets." And it's this guy doing a flip, I don't know what the actual term is, on his skateboard over this bench, and he fucks up the landing, kinda tumbles and falls on the back of his head first. The dude taking the video runs to him to see if he's okay, and the guy's on the ground convulsing, foaming in the mouth. Fucking terrifying. On the flip side, there's that video of a dude longboarding, cracks his head after a spill, but bounces right up yelling, "I love helmets. Always, always, always wear your helmet."
Give it to me like